Hello, my name is Ben.
And I'm Nora.
And we are your hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games. Nora, thank you for convincing me to buy a fan.
Oh.
We'll just start the show out there.
Like I said, even with air conditioning, the fan helps so much.
You know what? I didn't realize how much it would, you can turn the fan on the AC, but it's still a lot of electricity. It seems to be more electricity than just like a small fan that you buy at the store or whatever.
The smaller fans that just sit and point at you, they don't take up a lot of electricity. They produce beautifully, I think.
It helps me sleep now, too, which I didn't even realize that I even needed a gentle breeze.
Yes, I have one in the bedroom, pointing in the direction I sleep, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about OnlyFans?
No.
Do you have an OnlyFans page?
No.
Check out Nora's OnlyFans page.
OnlyFans, yeah, right. And if you're interested, sign up.
Some naughty photos. No OnlyFans page, unless we get a huge outpouring of support from our fans of the show. Hey, got to give the audience what they want.
Yeah. Well, okay. Then they won't want it. But
so how have you been? Anything exciting going on with Nora these days?
No, not too exciting. Just regular sitting around in the Chicago heat in the 80s and humidity.
Yeah.
Which is hard for me because of the humidity.
Right.
Who am I to talk about the weather, the summer weather, to somebody who lives in Tucson?
The thing is, when it's dry, it's fine. But right now we're having the monsoons, and that's when it gets humid out is after the rain. So we do have a bit of humidity ourselves, and then it disappears. And
what's the temperature?
I don't want to know. Out of sight, out of mind.
It's like made news. I don't want to know.
Yeah, let me see. It says 106. Yeah, I don't know exactly where they're taking this from, but it says excessive heat. But anyway, let's not talk about the weather. Let's not talk about the government. Let's not talk about REM. Let's talk about...
I wouldn't mind talking about REM. I play their records all the time.
You do? You play them? Wow. Well, that's cool.
Actually, I play the CDs. I don't have any records of theirs. I know that makes me old-fashioned. I know.
Does that make you old-fashioned? There still seem to be a lot of collectors out there, even generations who are partially into the digital age stuff. Mm-hmm. They like their things. They like collecting the special editions or whatever and have their collections of stuff.
Oh,
people still buy records.
I have hundreds and hundreds of records, and I keep telling myself I have to cull them. And I know of a couple of record stores in the area, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Championship Vinyl?
Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh, that's a fictitious record store in the movie High Fidelity.
It's something vinyl. God, what was it? It starts with V. Vinyl.
V Vinyl? I don't know where all those places, but it is a record store that you could go to.
Used records for the most part. Even though some people are putting out new records.
Yep, they still are. Because there's something to be said for the sound of the hiss and the pop, I think. It's almost comforting to me in some senses.
The depth.
It does give it a little bit of depth, whereas playing a CD, it just seems too clean sometimes. It's okay. It's like when I listen, I just listen for the music anyway. What have you been playing, Nora?
Do you mean like baseball or the piano?
Let's keep it open.
Baseball? No, I haven't.
Have you been playing baseball?
Not for a really, really long time. I haven't been playing anything but my sit down on my fat bottom and play on the computer.
That's a game?
Yeah, sit down on my fat bottom and play on the computer. Yeah.
Okay. What have you been playing on the computer, though?
Same old, same old.
So the bubble pop stuff?
Bubble pop, yeah. That's what I'm mostly into now. But I'll go and do a few others. But it's like an alcohol or a drug. Well, when you need to, you sit down, you start playing it, and everything else just fades away.
Okay. I don't quite agree with that assessment of games. You can do anything to a point where you're using it as an escapism. But that's not the fault of the game.
Oh, no.
That is you making that decision. So if you escape into alcohol, if you escape into video games, that's not the fault of the game.
I agree. I know it's me.
I just think a lot of people have a tendency to blame, right? And they go, oh, it's the game. It's like, well,
right.
I don't blame Philip Morris for my smoking addiction. You know?
Well, you should.
Maybe I should.
And J. Walter Thompson, too.
Right. All those people. But anyway, let's not talk about smoking. So you've been playing the Bubble Poppy games. I have been playing a game, actually a couple. I just finished the game Wife Quest.
Wife Swap.
It's not
Quest,
Wife Swap. It's Wife Quest. I'm sure there has to be a Wife Swap video game out there. There has to be.
Yeah. Well, there was a TV show.
Yeah, there is a TV show, which is, I mean, do you like those kinds of TV shows? Do you like?
No, God, I hate them. Almost all, unless they're cooking shows, and I hate some cooking shows because they're silly. And there's one on blowing glass that's
oh yeah,
that I've blown away. I like that one, even though the contestants get squirrelier and squirrelier.
I think that's just because it makes good television, quote unquote.
Yes, yeah, that's what I think too. But normally, I hate reality.
Okay.
I hate reality.
In recent weeks, I'm much more fond of reality.
Yeah, right.
For reasons that will remain unsaid. Wife Quest. It's a 2D platformer, very reminiscent of your pixel art kind of sprites from back in the like 16-bit console days, 8-bit console days. And I got it on sale for $2.99.
Ooh, okay.
I think I mentioned it on a previous show that after I finished Tevi, I was looking for similar games, and this is one that the PlayStation Store suggested, but it was a little more expensive on the PlayStation. I think I said during the show that I had with Lucas that it was $20, but I think it was more like 10.
Oh, okay.
But still, it was just kind of like, okay,
well, I think people will forgive you.
Okay. All 3 listeners or whatever.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I'm looking at little bits of it now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. It's not a quest for a wife.
Are those little chibi characters? Chibi.
Chibi, yeah.
Interesting. It reminds me of the play in Tevi.
Okay. So here's the story. The description of the game according to the Nintendo Switch website by Pippin Games, Wife Quest, classic 2D platformer. Here's what the description says. Punish the naughty monster girls who keep stealing your husband.
Oh.
In humorous and often naughty action platformer Wife Quest, you'll take the role of charismatic former warrior Mia as she sets off to battle the seductive monster girls who keep kidnapping her beloved husband Fernando. There's an ABBA connection there. You got Mamma Mia and you got Fernando, both of them. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, Mia. I didn't think of that. Yeah. I thought Fernando.
Although she's not a mama yet.
No.
But I think that wouldn't stop the monster girls. Anyway, explore the lands surrounding your marital home in vibrant side-scrolling pixel art style, slashing through enemies and fearlessly navigating a wide variety of hazardous environments. With each enemy boss she takes down, Mia gains a new ability to help her overcome the trials ahead. From goblins and witches to slimes and more, Mia will have plenty of monster girls to punish along the way, each with unique animations. There's also an equipment shop, mini games, gallery images to unlock, and additional modes to discover that reward you with new skins for Mia.
Oh, okay.
Will you help Mia defeat the dark elf Morgana and reunite her with Fernando? ? So that is, and I did complete the game. And it was enjoyable for what it was. Very silly, tongue-in-cheek, well worth the $3 I spent.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And very, very old school kind of Nintendo, even Super Mario Brothers-ish, like it had the different areas, but they were connected on a map, unlike Super Mario Brothers, but it's very much inspired by that kind of game. Okay, so do you have any questions?
About Wife Quest? It sounds like fun, actually.
It is goofy, silly fun. There are people who are saying, oh, it's women are being, it's like the monster girls are all busty and whatever. And
oh, yeah.
it's like, listen, just play it for what it is, which is a silly game about a concept that monster girls keep on abducting her husband, and just leave it at that. And it has a very little amount of replayability, but I spent time defeating the different bosses and I really enjoyed myself with it. So a lot more than I thought I would. Definitely recommend if you like those old school Nintendo, Super Nintendo era platform games.
Okay, I have a question. Part of it is in the chibi style?
I wouldn't call it that because they look too much like their human counterparts. They look pretty normal.
Okay. That's I was wondering about the sexy, big busted, exuding sex. I was wondering how that I came across with chibi characters.
Not very well.
I'm sorry. Keep falling over because their boobs are too big.
Yeah, not like that.
I was curious if it was similar to the Tevi.
It's not like that. Let me just see if I can come up with something to show you on it. The end itself gives you a little bit of a pictorial sort of thing involving all the boss characters that you fight.
Oh, okay.
That's a little small, but I think you can zoom into it. But those are the characters. That's kind of the way they look in the game, too, as far as their proportions. It's not like their heads are exceptionally large in relation.
Oh, okay. I see.
Maybe there's
they're very cartoonish, but they have big boobs.
Yes, they do.
Big naked boobs. Well, I mean, even though there's a shirt on, they might as well be naked. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're showing a little bit of skin is what you're saying.
A lot of skin, yes. But I don't care. Is it necessary? I don't know.
This is a picture of Mia and the store owner.
Oh, yeah, I see. I see you can buy a head in the store.
Those are different special items that are available as you complete the game, right?
Right.
And then this is one of the boss fights, really. So you see the characters. There is a little bit of chibi influence just because of the way that they're drawn.
Yeah.
It's not obnoxiously. They generally have...
It's a cross between...
It's kind of a hybrid, I would say.
But yeah, I do see.
Once again, enjoyable. And then just started playing Shift Up's Stellar Blade. You know the one.
I do?
Yeah, it's the one that all the people were complaining about. There was not enough naked side boob.
Oh, okay. Boy, they just can't decide what they want.
Well, I mean,
too much, too little.
I hate to play the back in my day card, but there was a game. It was called Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball.
Oh.
And there's a game called Dead or Alive. The Extreme Beach Volleyball version of this game included characters that they were wearing swimsuits. They were playing beach volleyball, so they had bikinis. They also had one-piece suits, too, depending on the character, but you could unlock different suits. And then they had incredibly ridiculous jiggle physics like they do. I thought it was a really fun volleyball game, but then they started getting weird with different mini games where they're supposed to use their butt to knock something down or whatever. And Michaela and I played it a little bit, the first one on Xbox. That one was like all female characters from the game playing volleyball and jiggling around. And now it's like they think Stellar Blade is, I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
The game itself is fun. It's an action hack'em slash'em type of game where you have to parry moves and fight these different boss monsters.
Yeah.
I'm sending you a lot of images today. That is a kind of a look at the character that you play in Stellar Blade.
Oh, well, she's pretty.
Yeah.
I like long dark hair and bangs.
Yeah.
It's a look I like.
Okay. Yeah, her hair goes very long, which is kind of an interesting look. But then you've got different other characters that you play against and whatnot, and there are battles you have against these bosses, and it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The story, though, it's a little... It's one of those things where you go out and you can do side missions in order to build up your experience so you can have more moves and more things that you can do.
Right.
So, you kind of want to do the side quests as you have them available.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really compelling so far as a story. There was one that was kind of a cute sort of thing about there's this robot. This company shift up in female robot people. I don't understand robot girls, but this one character whose name was Enya was a singer, and she sang at this bar, but she was just kind of like sort of less than a torso, more just like a shoulders and a neck and a head singing. And she was destroyed at some point in time, but this one character who owns this bar where she sings is really into her. And then your engineer that you find one of the pods that come down from the sky, as you do.
Okay.
She does her best to kind of reassemble her, and then she can speak, but she can't walk around. And then, of course, that guy goes off and he does the thing where he goes into the wasteland and he gets trapped and he can't come back with the legs. That's what he wanted to do. And she was worried about him.
Okay.
Little things like that, but nothing that really grabs you. It's just kind of like, little story elements that are supposed to be kind of tugging at the heartstrings, but it just doesn't really do it. So I don't know if that's stuff lost in translation or if it's stuff that is just bad storytelling.
Or different people like different
There's that too.
Types, Some people might like the little stories, and then to go on to the next little story.
Well, what I'm saying is they're just like the same old stories that you've seen before. You know what I mean? It's just like the same bits, and there's nothing in the characters that are incredibly striking that say, oh, wow, that really connects with me. Or
right.
I don't know if you've heard us talk on previous shows about Suda51. He's this Japanese designer, but his stories are so unique and weird and just really interesting.
Okay.
Shadows of the Damned is getting a remaster, and so it is going to be released on October 31st. At that point, I'll probably tell you the whole story, but the setup of the story is you are a demon hunter, and you found your girlfriend in a dumpster behind a grocery store.
Okay. Sure.
And you nurse her back to health or whatever. You're in love with her, and these demons keep on trying to kidnap her. And the character that keeps on trying to bring her back to the demon world is Flemming.
Oh.
That's his name.
Spelled
Flemming.
Plegming. Flem.
Nope. Just Flemming.
Okay.
So how's that for starting out with your interests sort of like going, okay, that's weird. As you progress through the game, it becomes more and more clear what the situation is. And to me, the ending was really kind of touching, I thought.
Oh.
And so I am wondering if playing this remaster when it comes out, if I'll have the same feelings or if my perspective now is different.
Right.
It's kind of like how I feel about Stellar Blade is maybe if I was back in 2011, that would have had more of a connection, those types of stories. But right now, they don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
I do.
So that's what I'm playing. Do you want to start talking about our word this week?
Well, I was playing with some ideas.
Were you now?
Yeah, but when I looked up our word this week, the definitions were so long. I mean, there were just because there's so many different nuances to the word play.
So let's start with the verbs, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
The first one is engage in an activity for enjoyment or recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. Number 2, take part in a sport, participate in an activity, athletic, match, contest, competing against other folks in a match, athletic matches.
Right.
They have some informals here, but I think I'll skip the informals.
Oh, yeah.
Because they all kind of, it's all about things involved with sport, like you make a play or you play a card or a hand, or so it's like sports and games related. Number 3, we have represent a character in a theatrical performance or a film.
Correct.
Number 4, perform on a musical instrument, producing sound with making music. Number 5, move lightly and quickly as so to appear and disappear, flicker. Huh.
Yeah.
That is not one that comes to mind immediately.
Now, they give an example with that, a smile played about her lips. And I mean, that kind of, you can go, yeah, I get that little flicker of a smile, or it's like smile and then, but just the definition itself is, I don't know if it's too usable.
They give another one here that's a fountain or a source of water that emits a stream of gently moving water. I've never used that, either of those, under number 5 before.
Agreed.
Number 6 in the verbs, allow a fish to exhaust itself pulling against a line before reeling it in. No fisherman ever played a bonita more carefully or with greater wile.
Do you want to go through the nouns and then I'll give my synoptic idea?
Yeah. Noun number 1, actively engage for enjoyment and recreation, especially by children. Number 2 is the conducting of an athletic match or contest. Number 3, a dramatic work for the stage or to be broadcast. Number 4, a space in or through which a mechanism can or does move. So there was a little play in that. A little play would be space to move, I guess.
Yeah, I understand it.
Yep. And then number 5, light and constantly changing movement. Artist exploits the play of light across the surface. So that I understand. And I think that might be the connection with the verb, is the way the light plays on the water or whatever. But it's still not one I use frequently.
Right. But it's certainly, you'd understand it.
Yeah. Those are the nouns. What were you going to say about?
Almost all of them, except a few at the end, boil down to the very first definition in both the verb and the noun, which is engage in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. So if you're in a sport, it's for enjoyment and recreation. If you're in a theatrical performance, play.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing. You're playing somebody else. You're enjoying recreation to an extent. Of course, there's money in it, but nonetheless, you're playing. Same thing with the musical instruments. It's enjoyment and recreation.
Right.
But then when you get down to the light playing on the water or smile played on her lips,
movement,
then
it doesn't quite fit.
But to me, it's all has to do with enjoyment and recreation, activity.
Yeah, I think they all fall under that umbrella mostly.
Mm-hmm.
When you draw up a play, it is for something like you got played, like that, more of a slang use of the word play, like someone used you.
Yeah, right.
That isn't mentioned in these, but we can go over that after we go through the definition, so we can try and think of ones that aren't covered in the definition.
Or they might be covered, but you have to kind of wiggle them in.
Yeah, there's a little bit of play there.
Yes, exactly.
We've got the origin, which is Old English, plagian. I can't speak ye olde English.
Yeah.
To exercise, plega, brisk movement, related to Middle Dutch, playen, leap for joy, or dance.
Oh.
Playen, Pleien, playen.
That sounds like enjoyment and recreation.
Yeah, jumping for joy and dancing.
Jumping, yeah.
The use over time, we've doubled since the 1800s our usage of the word play in print. How much of that is cassette tapes and video games, do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly what I was
Records, anything audio, video.
Radio, television. The word play is used that way.
Yep, that is our definition. Do you have any usages that we didn't cover? The one that I brought up was the you got played. I
listed for myself whenever I thought of something, but most of them are covered. Okay, now I have mind games written down. And that has to do with you got played. Yeah. Or something like that.
You got tricked or duped, manipulated.
playbook for team games, but that fits right in there with the athletics. Out of play or in play.
Right.
In games or baseball, same thing. It fits in there. It's in
the pastimes and hobbies and sports and whatnot area.
Yeah, right. Now there's play dates. I guess that fits in too with if they're play, that means you're going to have recreation and enjoyment, supposedly. Your kids are supposed to enjoy it. So that fits right in with playing. Wordplay, wordplay is a little different. Playing with words.
It's one of those subtle sort of things, I think. Wordplay is maybe constructing words in a way that's fun.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe if play is supposed to be fun, then constructing or manipulating or moving words around to make them fun. What do you think about that?
Good. My brother Tom and I, when we were like really little, 5, 6, something like that, maybe a little older, we used to sit quietly in a corner and we would take a word and we'd try and think of all of the other words that mean the same thing. Our words would be things like drunk. I mean,
right.
Hey, we lived in a town that had a lot of drunks. Dead or death. Oh, just, things like that. But we would sit and try and come up with words that meant, and that was like a wordplay thing.
I think that works in both ways because as kids, you are enjoying yourself doing this activity, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure these things
Yes.
out. And learning, it's kind of twofold.
It was very it was fun. We laughed a lot. Another thing, I have a couple more. Sex play.
Role play is what I thought.
Okay, yeah, role play. Yeah, I got that on here too. That has to do with enjoyment and recreation, though.
It also has to do with acting, I would say.
Well, sex play I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, there's a part that it depends on what you're talking about with sex. I mean, there is a part that is
foreplay.
Yeah. I thought that was a golfing term.
Yeah, right.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm gonna play 4. Yeah.
That's a good one. I should use that if I ever get involved with a woman. What?
Oh.
No, I don't play golf.
Yeah, I wouldn't if I were you. Then you wouldn't be involved in.
Yeah, that would be done. Be like, okay,
yeah,
bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, sex play being, the
doing different things and
trying different things,
enjoyment and recreation. Yeah. So now, we both talked about we laugh when we talk about it. Play with yourself. That could have something to do with sex play.
It could.
If you're playing, say, a game of dice, you can roll the dice and you're playing with the dice. If you're playing with yourself.
I think you mentioned this before, pocket pool.
Oh God, yes. It was something I learned when I started teaching. The kids laughed at this one guy because they said he was always playing pocket pool. No, teacher. And that was the first time I had heard it. Yeah.
The things you learn at school as a teacher.
Yes, as a teacher. Oh, another one that we did when we were kids was we used to play with our food. Well, not really.
Well, the parents used to say, don't play with your food.
Yeah. Actually, my mom said that once. Tom and I were having tangerines. Okay. And I'm real picky. So I don't just peel it and throw it in my mouth. I pick off all those little white things that are on the back.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm picking all these things off and putting them in a little pile and stuff. And Mom turns around and says, quit playing with your food. So Tom and I decided to play with our food. And we took one of the little tangerine sections and all of the little white kindling, let's call it kindling.
Okay.
And put it put the tangerine section up against something and put all this little white shreds from the back of the tangerine all around it. And what did they do to witches in Joan of Arc? Burning it at the stake.
Oh, okay. So
we were burning the tangerine at the stake. That was our play when Mom said, don't play with your food.
You were inventive, imaginative kids.
But we were strange. We were so...
I don't think that at all. I just think that was, I mean, I know your brother, and the first thing that comes to mind isn't imaginative.
He was more imaginative than I.
What I'm saying is, it's interesting as kids how imagination and playing is something that you're naturally very good at as a child.
Right.
And as you get to be adults, it becomes something that some adults view as a waste of time.
Right.
But I don't think that's true at all.
No, I don't either.
Anything that's a hobby is, I would refer to as play.
Exactly.
Anything you do for enjoyment.
Like making jewelry, like when I used to make jewelry. Would you call that playing? I don't know, but I sure enjoyed myself, and I could do it for hours on end.
Yeah.
You know, and I just was enjoying myself so much. So, I mean, even things like stamp collecting, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a stamp collector. But I'm sure there's...
Go play with your stamps.
Let's catch them on fire. Yeah.
Ooh, I got an idea. Let's mail something. Yeah.
See if we put enough stamps on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to send something somewhere. Snail mail.
Yeah, I remember that.
Or as some people like to call it, mail.
Yeah, right. Right. So, yeah, I'm out of my list of things. I mean, they still almost all fall under the first definition.
Right.
Engaging in activity for enjoyment and recreation.
That makes sense to me. Is there anything else you think of?
Well, I'm of course I think about
Theater. Yeah.
Because I was one class short of a minor in theater.
Okay.
You write a play, present a play, and it is definitely recreational, even if you've got a serious thing that you're trying to get across. You know, I think it's still, you're playing a character as you act. You have all these characters, and different people are playing somebody other than themselves.
Right.
And it's kind of like when you're a kid and you're playing whatever people play when they're a kid. House. I don't know if people do that.
Sort of duplicating families or...
Right. Cowboys and Indians when I was a kid. And nowadays, I'm sure that's not politically correct. Indigenous and colonist.
No.
But we did, we were 5 years old and stuff.
Right. There are various us versus them kind of things that don't involve, like war, right? That's not necessarily politically correct either, but it's still the same kind of premise. It's two people who are against each other. So acting, do you think that actors are masters of play? Because actors generally, they have to inhabit some sort of a fictitious character.
Somebody that they are not. I do think that what you said. Not all. Some are not masters, certainly.
Right.
But they're all attempting some degree of play for their role.
There's a creation aspect too. Like if you have a role of someone, it's how does this person behave? How does it? And there's a lot of creativity involved in play. in play acting.
Yes.
Plays or otherwise, right? The actor has to.
Also, that's the same thing in children's play.
Yeah.
You're creative, playing with your Barbie or whatever. Before they gave you all these things that go with Barbie. Yeah, you made up stories. You made up everything, playing house, different people.
You still make up stories.
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying it's similar to children's play. Role playing.
There's like Legos we used to love to play with, and that's because we could build the things. Lincoln Logs, another thing that we used to love to play with because it was kind of you were building stuff.
Right.
Then once you built the stuff, you could take your little Playmobil figures and say, hey, my name is Dave and I live in this log cabin, or I don't know, whatever.
Right. Creative. As
you get older, your exposure to life, I think, makes it a lot easier to create because you've got more of a wealth of things to draw from. So why do adults, why is there a stigma when you are a grown-up or, not without a family playing? I think there is a lot of leeway given to people who have families. It's like, they enjoy playing with their children, right?
Yes.
But in the adult sense, there's a lot you can do when you're a grown-up as far as playing that you didn't have the opportunity to do as a youngster? Why do adults not call it playing?
I don't know. You were talking about creativity before. I was more creative, I think, when I was younger. And as I got older, I packed that creativity away.
I challenge that.
I don't know.
I challenge that because of the conversations that we have and the humor and your sense of humor about things and all these things. These are all creative things that people do. They just don't, I don't know.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that. But yeah, you can't be stupid and have a good sense of humor. I'm not supposed to use the word stupid.
You can use the word stupid. I would use the word ignorant, but
okay.
I think there's a little bit of a difference there. Just a little. I mean,
No, you're right.
Unaware of things, not observant, right?
It's generation thing. The words we used would just, people would throw arrows and daggers and stuff at us if they heard us.
People would throw arrows and daggers? That seems like an odd selection of things.
All right, daggers and knives.
Right. The younger generations would throw TikToks at you. They already do that for Gen X.
Okay.
They go on their TikTok and complain about Gen X, and then Gen X looks at it and goes,
yeah.
And that's just, and sometimes they make videos going, look at this person who's trying to make fun of us or whatever. Weird.
So yeah, humor is creativity. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of what we're taught as adults is that play and creativity is counter to what you are supposed to do, which is get a job, make money, have a house, have a family, all these things.
Yeah.
This is the expectation. But a lot of those things do require creativity. So you have it. I think a lot of adults, to make themselves maybe feel better, or this stigma, they say that they don't have creativity, but people do. I honestly believe that. It's like people say, oh, I can't do this thing. I can't paint, or I can't do that. I'm not very creative. It's like, well, that doesn't mean you're not creative at all. That,
Right.
That's one medium.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, creativity is throughout life. I mean, in all different phases.
Different situations. I mean, different approaches to things that someone might not have thought of. I mean, those are all creative things. So
yeah, you're right.
So if you want to pay me to speak at your positivity retreat, go ahead. I can make
you
some
can
money
do
there.
it. Yeah.
Yes. You can do it. Okay, so let me tell you about the things that I think of when I think of the word play.
Okay, dokey.
Okay.
I'll try and keep my mouth shut. Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Wild Cherry, the band?
No, I know One-Eyed Cherry.
Wild Cherry, they are well known for the song Play That Funky Music, White Boy.
Oh, okie dokie. Okay.
It's an interesting story behind the song because one of the members of that band wanted to do disco and the rest of them didn't. They were playing in a rundown neighborhood in, I don't know what the politically correct term is these days, but in the ghetto. Someone at the bar that they were playing said, "You gonna play that funky music, white boy?" And that's where the song comes from. Seriously. And it's pretty funky. So,
play that, yeah.
They didn't want to do disco. They wanted to remain a rock band, but my gosh. They probably made some money on that.
Yeah.
People know that song.
Right.
Another thing I think of musically related is Moby. Are you familiar with?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like?
I'm familiar with Moby. He's okay.
Yeah, he's got some decent songs. My friend Michaela is a really huge fan of his, like has his entire catalog, really into him.
Oh, okay.
And Play is the 5th studio album by Moby, which was my introduction to Moby music. I didn't know a lot of Moby stuff before. After Play came out, he did a lot of music scoring movies and things for a while. And it's sort of a DJ / musician kind of hybrid is what I would call him. Do you know what Moby's name is?
No, I don't.
This is one to file away for the trivia.
Okay.
It is Richard Melville Hall.
Richard Melville Hall?
Yep. Richard Melville Hall, born September 11th, 1965.
Wow.
Yeah. Would you like your middle name to be Melville?
Sure.
That's an interesting middle name, I thought.
Well, they used to name middle names. No, this is used to, though. He was born in 65. But they used to use the mother's maiden name for a middle name. So that might be what it was.
I'm certainly glad I'm not
Yeah, you're right.
That would be horrible. Okay, so the last thing that I think of as far as play and being a child is Play-Doh.
Oh, yeah.
Play-Doh, pliable putty-like substance concocted by Noah McVicker of a Cincinnati-based soap manufacturer, Kutol Products.
Uh-huh.
It was devised at the request of Kroger Grocery because they wanted a product that could clean coal residue from wallpaper. Well, that seems oddly specific.
Yes, it is. I knew it was produced for some serious reason. But
yeah,
that is very
coal residue from wallpaper. Apparently that was a problem back in the day.
I guess. Okay.
Kind of makes sense. This was World War II era. So, I mean, you had coal furnaces and things.
Yeah, a lot of people did, yeah.
First manufactured in Cincinnati, Ohio in the 1930s. And then it was reworked and marketed in Cincinnati schools in the mid-1950s. Wow. Talk about an interesting story. Going from something like a wallpaper cleaner to a kid's toy.
Right.
Demonstrated at educational conventions, and in 1956, it was prominent in department stores, and so they opened up retail. Did you play with Play-Doh as a child?
Not much. It didn't come. Don't forget, I was a child before 56 and 57. Yeah, when we were a little bit older, middle school, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think we did play with it a little bit. It had a nice smell. I remember that.
That's where we get into the interesting little factoid I wanted to tell you about. To mark Play-Doh's 50th anniversary, the Demeter Fragrance Library created a limited edition fragrance inspired by Play-Doh's distinctive odor for, quote, highly creative people who seek a whimsical scent reminiscent of their childhood.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
That is something that I remember about it, the smell and sticking it on copy. Isn't that the thing that you could pick up newsprint?
Nope. Silly Putty was the newsprint.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you can manipulate both of them, but Play-Doh was better.
We had a couple of Play-Doh toys. We had the Dr. Drill and Fill, which you made little teeth out of Play-Doh, and you can actually use. Yeah. And it was like a person's head. That you had the teeth in, the bottom row of teeth that you could pretend that they had cavities, and you had to patch up their tooth or whatever.
Oh, my Lord. I never heard of such a thing. Jeez.
One of the favorite ones was this little pressing sort of mechanism where you could put little shapes in front and push the Play-Doh through it. So you could make little tubes, you could make little squares, you could make little things.
That I remember.
That was one of the older toys, the first toys. There's a fragrance library. Why would you go to the library to smell things?
Well, probably it's for professionals.
Oh. Do you think they actually have a physical library of scents? Like, you could go there and scratch and sniff or whatever.
Scratch and sniff no, they probably, I'm sure they do.
Do you think they use the Dewey Decimal System or some other system?
I don't know there. That I can't tell you.
Okay. All right. And then kind of a partner to that distinct smell. In 2018, Hasbro registered Play-Doh's signature scent with the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to hear the description, what they call it?
Sure, yeah.
It's described as a combination of a sweet, slightly musky, vanilla-like fragrance with slight overtones of cherry and the natural smell of salted wheat-based dough.
Okay. Well, it was the sweet and vanilla and cherry. Not like heavy cherry, but some little twist of a fruit in there.
Probably like
fruit, sweet. That's what I always got. But I see the dough part too.
Yeah.
Play-Doh.
Did you ever see? Yeah, Play-Doh misspelled.
Yeah.
Dough.
Yeah. Right.
And later used by Homer Simpson. as an exclamation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I bet you Homer Simpson ate a lot of Play-Doh.
Probably.
There were kids who ate Play-Doh, and that's not good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, probably not.
Unless they just ingested a whole bunch of coal or had a really well done steak or burger.
Uh-huh.
And I could clean you out there. That is what I think of when I think of the word play. Do you have anything to add to that before we move on to video games?
I do not.
Oh, you know what?
Because
one quick thing. I'm sorry. There was an article I read. I think it was Psychology Today. Play. Fun, imaginative, relaxed, self-directed activities is a key part of life for children and adults alike. Play tends to be self-chosen, removed in some way from real life, and governed by a set of rules determined by the players rather than an outside source. Play has myriad payoffs and is more common in children than adults. However, adults can and do play, often to their own benefit.
well, that's better than Oxford.
I think that is excellent.
I do too.
You know what? Psychology Today, big thumbs up on that right there. That is an excellent definition.
Concept, all that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the article in Psychology Today. It's just simply called Play. They talk about how human and animal studies show that play, especially vigorous play, turns on many genes in the brain indicating growth or new neural connections.
Oh, yeah.
In humans, pretend play has been tied to increase in cognitive flexibility and social responsivity. Interesting.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, was that from Psychology Today?
Yeah, that was from that same Psychology Today article called Play.
I might have to look that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just got some interesting things about how it impacts learning. Here it says, how much play do humans need? Which is kind of an interesting sort of question to think about. It's a long article that's just focused on play. Do adults need to play? The benefits of play in adults. I play games for a number of reasons, but it's like doing puzzles and having fun. That's what it is, and it's enjoyable.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Even if the game is not 100%, you learn something about how to navigate things when you play games. But
that's what I used to say about math, that it was like a puzzle, and you learn to navigate. It's a puzzle you're trying to solve, and you want to find an efficient way to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also find other creative ways, Yeah, that's what I used to say about math.
Is that why you love math so much?
Yes, it is.
We need to do the word math at some point.
Or if we're out of United States, maths with an S on the end.
Right. I tell you, those wily. Anyway.
Well, it makes more sense. I mean, think about math. There's a whole bunch of parts of it. Oh, never mind. We'll do that on the math show. Never mind.
I get it. I understand, but it's just something we're not used to saying, right?
Right.
It's math as a collective as opposed to math as different types of math, right? So
right.
And here we go. Both, what are the benefits of play in adults? It reduces stress, of course, improves feelings of optimism, builds cognitive flexibility, and even theorized to help attract and keep mates. Well, damn.
Okay.
I got to start playing more video games.
Well, yeah. Maybe not in your room. Maybe not in your living room. Maybe
probably should
someplace.
do it in public. You think that'll work? Go to the coffee shop, play lots of games.
Well, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, right.
Check out that Psychology Today Play article. It's really interesting. It's one of those very digestible, super easy reads. You could probably go into the research parts of it a little deeper, but I mean, as far as just a general overview of observations about play and its benefits and what it is, I would say that's a good primer.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm really interested. So let's get on with playing these games we play.
Well, I was going to talk about the history of a thing that contains the word play.
Okay.
But first, I'm going to go play with myself. No, actually, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Okay. You're going to edit that out?
You know what Dad used to say?
What?
He said, if you shake more than 2 times, you're playing with yourself.
He used to say that. Yeah.
He never said it to me.
Well, duh. Anyway. Okay, just 1 second. So, a brief history of the PlayStation before we wrap up the show.
Oh, great.
Are you familiar with the PlayStation?
Yes, I am. I mean, not hands-on familiar, no, but having taught since the late 70s, I've heard it talked about so many times in Christmas wishes and stuff, you know. The kids talk about.
All I want for Christmas is a PlayStation.
Different number every year. Not every year.
Well, probably every couple of years, actually. Right now, we're on 5.
Yes.
And I never used to be a big PlayStation person until after the PlayStation 4. I mean, when the PlayStation 4 came out, I just kind of like, okay, well, this is where the exclusive games that I can only play on the PlayStation are, so that's what I'm going to buy. But Sony PlayStation has an interesting history because they were kind of connected to Nintendo at one point in time.
Okay.
Essentially what happened, the name PlayStation kind of came from this project where the CD was coming into fashion, right? So everyone wanted to jump on board with the CD technology and CD-ROM and all that. Ken Kutaragi, a Sony executive who managed one of the company's hardware engineering divisions, is known as the father of the PlayStation. Sony had very little direct involvement with the gaming industry. They did supply components to Nintendo for the Super Famicom, which is what the Super Nintendo is called in Japan.
Okay.
And they also had a video game studio, Sony ImageSoft, but as a part of a joint project between Nintendo and Sony in around 1988-89, they worked on creating a CD-ROM version of the Super Famicom. At the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in June of 1991, Sony revealed a Super Famicom with a built-in CD-ROM drive that incorporated the CDI technology, and it was called the PlayStation, also known as the SNES CD. This is really how weird timing works. The day after they made that announcement at the Consumer Electronics Show,
yeah,
Nintendo said that they are no longer working with Sony and they're going to work with Philips instead for the same technology.
Huh.
So Nintendo broke the deal.
Wow.
Nintendo isn't evil. It's just like...
Well, the timing was kind of bad.
Yeah, the timing was very bad. Nintendo said the reason why was they were unable to come to an agreement on how they would split the revenue for the system if they sold it. That's when the Sony president, Norio Oga, got angry because of them breaking this agreement, right? So he appointed Ken Kutaragi with the responsibility of developing the PlayStation as its own system to be better than the Nintendo. Hence, that's kind of why he is known as the father of that. It's also interesting that up till that point in time, 1991, Nintendo denied the existence of a Sony deal all the way through March of 1991.
Oh.
So they didn't even acknowledge their connection with them. And Sony, who was selling them components and whatnot, decided they're going to make this new PlayStation CD-ROM based.
Okay.
So that's kind of the origin of the PlayStation brand and or name. The original PlayStation was released in Japan on December 3rd, 1994. And I remember when it came to the United States, because I went to a concert where they had some PR people in the lobby showing off all the new games that are coming for the PlayStation, which wasn't quite available yet. And they were just making some buzz about it. Now, why they were at a show at the Cabaret Metro for punk rockers and stuff, I don't know. You know what? People liked video games. People, wherever.
Yeah.
My stepbrother and I went and saw these shows and then also played the PlayStation. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Local H. They're from Zion, Illinois.
Okay.
We also saw them there. Their big song, You High Five and Hurt for Them. So anyway.
Yeah, sorry, haven't heard of it.
They were very grungy, kind of punk rock in Chicago mixed with a grunge sort of sound.
Okay, yeah.
They were more closely associated with grunge than they were punk, I think. So
Okay.
But anyway,
Good.
Yeah, I remember playing the demo version of that back, I think it was 1995, about a year before I moved out here. So
Wow.
I just thought it was really interesting too about how it was like, that guy backed out of a deal, so we're going to make this Sony thing.
I'm going to show him.
Nintendo's still in business. Sony's still in business. They're still Sony-based technology. The Sony Philips thing has always been a back and forth as far as formats.
Oh, okay.
You had your DVDs, but you also had your high definition DVDs, which was Philips, and then you had Blu-ray, I think, which was the Sony version of the HD DVD, and the one that won out was the Blu-ray, so that kind of won the market share.
It did? Oh, okay.
Maybe I buy Blu-rays just because of my Sony PlayStations.
Oh, yeah, true.
But I think what ended up happening was the HD DVD format just disappeared, and the one that was remaining, equivalent to the VHS versus beta kind of thing, was the Blu-ray. So yeah, that's the very brief history of the Sony PlayStation.
Yes. So people can play on it.
Yep. Play all day. But don't play too much. You got to play outside. You got to go outside and play.
Oh, true.
Or play with yourself, I guess. But I wouldn't recommend
You can do that outside, too.
You can do that.
I'm sorry.
Depending on your state of dress, you may be arrested too. But we'll just go with the G-rated version and just say, go outside and play.
Yes.
What are your final thoughts on the word play, Nora?
Well, I love it in all of its splendor. I mean, I like the enjoyable, recreational, creative. I mean, creative is part of it.
Yeah.
I love it. Where would we be without it? I mean, I go to plays all the time. I listen to all kinds of music, hear people playing, a great word with a great concept, what it is.
Yeah, exactly. With the word play, I just associate it naturally to any kind of creative or learning opportunity where you're just learning something. Maybe it's not exactly playing, but I think if you explore your imagination, you are learning about whatever the character you're inhabiting or things like that. So I think you've got that as a connection. So as long as you're always learning and playing, learning/playing, enjoying what you're doing, by all means, go ahead and play. It's beneficial. It's stress relief.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
When it becomes a job, though, I've said this a number of times on the show before, doing the podcast is like playing for me. It is play in the enjoyment sense of the word.
Learning about it?
Yeah. Learning about people in the industry, learning about different things.
How to set up the podcast to begin with.
Yep. I'm learning something new every day on that front as well. Either designing the graphics, the artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Editing the show, even just general writing of show notes. I'm doing a little bit of creative writing there too. So it's like all the different things that I love to do when I play.
Yeah. Very good. That's the teacher in me talking.
Good job.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. Do I get my gold star?
No, you need an excellent for that.
Excellent.
Sorry.
No gold star, though. Gosh darn it. Well, thank you, Nora, for joining us on this week's episode of the Too Vague Podcast. We appreciate you.
It was a pleasure. It really was. Pleasure, like play. Yeah.
Exactly. It was playing. You were playing with mics and phones.
Right.
Thank you, audience, for joining us on this week's episode of the Too Vague Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Nora.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Too Vague listeners. This is Andrew, your Partly Robot Industries guy, letting you know that if you want to get one of those Too Vague Podcast t-shirts, here is the URL to type into the thingy on the internet. It's tpublic.com/user/partly-robot-industries. That's right. tpublic.com/user/partly-robot-industries. If that's not confusing enough, Ben might put in a link in the show notes. Follow it.